So why do college professors teach so badly? So if you don't know me, I'm Professor Dave Massack. I'm an Associate Professor of Innovation Strategy and Entrepreneurship. And what I'm going to do is talk to you about how to actually deal with this when college and university professors teach really poorly, and how to actually deal with somebody that is having a difficult time transferring knowledge to you. It's a sort of issue that we all have to deal with. So this is based on my own experience with dealing with people that have difficulty with transferring knowledge. And I think we all kind of have this experience with us. So if you don't know me, I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There are so many people that help me out that I want to pay the favor forward to help you out as much as I possibly can. Transferring knowledge is really difficult. So if somebody has something that they've learned and they have to transfer it to somebody else, that's what we call a sort of knowledge transfer, where they sometimes have knowledge that is both what is called tacit, so stuff that you can't really put any sort of feel into it, and then codified knowledge as well. So there's this stuff, codified knowledge is stuff that's written down, and that knowledge is the stuff that's easier to transfer. The tacit knowledge, I think that's where a lot of people have difficulty sort of getting that stuff across, and that's sort of where the intuition is and things like that, where it is difficult to transfer some of those things to other people. So what I've learned how to deal with people that are really struggling with transferring the knowledge to myself and to other people is I'm really trying to have to flip it on its head and articulate and sort of point out that the problem is not them, the problem is me. Whenever I have those particular moments where I'm like, I'm not getting anything from that, I have to sort of stop and think about, what is it that I can possibly do to help transfer or help improve the transfer of knowledge that's going on there, right? So and this is how you're going to fix a lot of things in your life in terms of having a better relationship, or being a better manager, or whatever, is thinking about how you can flip the problem on its head and think about, it's not really them that is having these particular issues. It's actually me that's having these issues, because I know that there's great knowledge and great things that they have. I have to figure out how to get them to transfer that knowledge to me. And it's really hard to do in terms of, emotional or behavioral aspects of it, where we have to think about, well, how do I actually get some sort of knowledge from them? And if I can get them the knowledge from them, no matter how great or bad of a teacher they are, the better off you're going to be, because you're going to be running into all sorts of people in your life where some people are really bad at communicating, some people are really good at communicating, and sort of trying to get what they're trying to say behind the scenes is going to be very important for you as you develop and grow as an individual, right? So for me, if I run across somebody that is really struggling with transferring knowledge to me and sort of teaching things to me, what I try to do is get them to slow down. Usually people that are very, very bright and very smart, they will rush through things assuming that you know some things. And it seems easy to them because it seems like the issues that they're sort of skipping over are minor, and they might be, but you are really struggling with that uptake, right? So you're really not really getting that. And the issue is they're just kind of operating at a different level. They're thinking about things in a different way because they've already learned that stuff. And for me, whenever I run into sort of issues, it's like, oh man, people just don't know this at this moment. How do I get this across? It always is, let's slow it down. Let's try to get this a little bit more easier and straightforward for everybody to think about. And so I'm usually sort of spinning a lot quicker. And it's just because, maybe I've got a little bit more experience or I've been exposed to certain things and it seems easier to me, but everybody else is like, what is going on here, right? So you might want to slow down the question or slow down what's going on. And the way you do that is just simply ask questions whenever there's moments of like, I just don't know what to do in this case. And just ask questions to slow the process down, because what they're doing is they're kind of skipping over important points for you to sort of understand what's going on. And then the other thing that I think is important, sort of second sort of trick, particularly, if you're struggling with teaching, or struggling with the uptake, it's asking them to give you an example or give some sort of analogy or simile in terms of transferring that knowledge. So it's easier for me to think about things when it's an example or an analogy, right? So abstract thinking is really hard. It always is. For me, I can't absorb that stuff. But as soon as I get a real world analogy, I can get some of that stuff. So if you have this sort of abstract view of what they're trying to say, and then they get into the real world analogy or something that's going on, right? So I might be talking about knowledge transfer, but here I'm really talking about, so notice what I'm doing, I'm really talking about when you're in a classroom and somebody is trying to tell you something, some sort of message that's important, but you're not understanding that. So it's like if you are an accountant, for example, and you're having an interaction with a client and they're teaching you or telling you about some problem that they're having, and then you're like, well, I just don't get it. So that's where you have to ask questions, right? So you can see how those analogies is getting you to think about, this idea of it's not the professor's fault. It's actually getting them to think in different ways. So you really want, as an accountant, you really want your client to transfer some of that knowledge to you because you can help them out. So it's the same thing as a professor. If you can get them to think in different examples and go in different ways, it can be helpful. So if you're an engineer, for example, and you're trying to talk to the users of some software that you have, you're going to want to ask questions. So the same way as a professor, right? So you have to ask them questions if they're having a difficult time transferring to you, transferring that knowledge. And then the other thing that I think is important is try to learn the stuff on your own first, or get some sort of rough understanding of what they're trying to talk about, and then use the professor or use the teacher as a way to gain greater depth into the particular area, because they're probably going to understand that stuff a little bit more. And so what they can do is go into the nuances of some of that stuff. So that's where I really love the sort of flip the classroom model, where people go and they learn some of the stuff at home and then they come in and ask questions and stuff. Now, in reality, it's a little not as straightforward as that. But, if it works, it can work really well. Where you learn some of the stuff and then you go and ask the questions that you're kind of hazy about that can really reinforce stuff. So for me, when I was learning things, and I'm still learning things, I'm always learning things. So I'll learn things on my own, get stuck, go ask somebody for insight, come back, try to learn that again, and then just go through iterations like that, right? And that's kind of the view that you should be looking at as you develop and grow as a person. So hopefully this helped you out in terms of how to actually deal with bad professors and teaching bad teachers, in terms of them dealing with some of the issues that they actually have. Really trying to think about how can I change to understand what they're thinking about, and how do I get them to transfer that amazing knowledge that they have in their head, so I can learn some of the stuff and I can take this going forward. And so this is going to be very useful for you, whether you are learning from a 4-year-old that has some great understandings of the world, or somebody that is 95 years old and they have a totally different cultural view as you, or somebody that's like the president in your company that you're working for. You have to sort of take that view of trying to understand what they're trying to say, because they have some great knowledge that could be shared to everybody. So with that, give me a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.